Speaking of directions, we're going to move on to the Russian fighter jet who forced down a U.S. drone over the Black Sea after the intercept. That's right. What's happening? We're back on the war train, baby. Choo-choo, war.
Brianna, this played out early this morning over international waters of the Black Sea, according to U.S. Air Force Europe. An MQ-9 Reaper drone, a U.S. Air Force surveillance drone or spy drone, was flying over the Black Sea when, according to the Air Force, 2 Russian fighter jets conducted what they're calling an unsafe and unprofessional interception. That's just the beginning of it. According to the Air Force, the 2 Russian Su-27 flanker fighter jets repeatedly flew in front of the MQ-9 Reaper drone, apparently in an attempt to disrupt or disturb its flight pattern, even dumping fuel in front of that U.S. Reaper drone. And then, according to the Air Force, one of those Su-27 fighter jets damaged the propeller of the Reaper drone, forcing it down. Of course, the key question now, Brianna, how does the U.S. respond? How severely do they view this, and how deliberately do they view this? Certainly the statement from U.S. Air Force seems to say that the Russians were very deliberate in flying in front of the drone, dumping fuel in front of the drone, and then damaging the propeller, forcing it down eventually in the Black Sea. So now we'll wait to see how the U.S. chooses to...
They were doing, what is it called? They were dogfighting, but with drones. Chinese balloon is the end of the world, but our drone is no big deal. Yeah, I don't understand, brother. What the do you mean? If China sends a balloon over anywhere near a goddamn airspace, you bet your ass we're blowing that shit up. But when we send it to the Black Sea, it's completely allowed. Fuck you. Turkish fighter jets and Greek fighter jets do this over contested airspace all the time, or like international territory all the time, where they'll like fly next to one another. It's called dogfighting. They do it regularly. In this instance, not only did it happen, but it also led to like one of the drones actually being forced to land. Dogfighting is actual combat. I thought it was called dogfighting when they fuck around with one another. It's like chicken. They play chicken. It's not supposed to like actually deploy weapons or anything. A secret war between Turkey and Greece just turned deadly after a long history of dogfights over the Aegean Sea. A Greek fighter jet crashed and the pilot was killed after intercepting 2 Turkish F-16 fighters that had intruded into Greek airspace. While fatalities are unusual, Turkish jets have been violating Greek airspace for decades, and the incursions have happened over the years. Yeah, a lot of those is just like planes fucking flying towards one another, planes flying side by side with one another, but not necessarily like deploying weapons. Kind of what they were doing. The problem is, you have to understand, as you correctly pointed out, Chatter, all airspace is U.S. airspace. We have bases everywhere. Why do we care about an unmanned aircraft getting damaged? Because America. Because it hurts our feelings. Because it's like fucked up. Anything that threatens America's hegemonic power status is genuinely an issue. Do you understand? That's the main point here.
This is typical of shadowing and intercepts in Europe, Brianna, truthfully. What you see is Russia does this all the time in international airspace, on top of international waters. Russia often considers the Black Sea their national lake, which is dead wrong. It doesn't apply that way. But you will see Russian aircraft continuously having these kinds of intercepts or shadows, but nothing like this. Airplanes get close. You certainly will see. There have been years where there are over a couple of hundred.
Yeah, it's wrong. It's America's lake. Look at that. That's our guy right there. You see that? That right there? That's NATO, brother. That's NATO territory. So it's our airspace. Greek airspace, Turkish patrol mission into Greek airspace. As you can see in this map, Turkey doesn't recognize Greek view of exclusive economic zone, including also some Greek islands in the Turkish EEZ. Guys, understand this map. This is technically Greek airspace, okay? The moment that a plane fucking flies out of Izmir, it's in Greek airspace. Yeah, Taiwan does this with China. It's just like, come on. It's a little ridiculous, right? Be honest, if the U.S. took down a Russian drone, you would consider it an unnecessary act of aggression and you would not defend it like you do now. First of all, I'm not even defending Russia taking down an American drone. It is unnecessarily aggressive. But you have to ask, what the fuck is an American drone doing in the Black Sea, brother? You are the one who's patching that up. You are the one who's going, oh man, look at Hasan again, defending Russia. No, I'm not. Do you know where America is on the map? Why is the American drone in the Black Sea. But yeah, you're just like, bro, you don't understand. This is NATO airspace. Everything is American airspace. This happened where America shot down the Chinese balloon that was literally a fucking, that did not have the same maneuverability, that did not have the same capabilities of flight that this drone has, right? And it accidentally fucking flew into American airspace, and then they blew it up because it flew over American land. They blew it up. Like I was saying, we saw what happened when a foreign warring nation, a foreign adversary's surveillance equipment trailed into American territory, which is a very commonplace thing, just like these drones are super commonplace, which, by the way, is something that countries do to one another all the fucking time. Obviously, Russia doing this is it's saber rattling. It's saying like, oh yeah, you bring your fucking drone near the Black Sea, near our territory, we're gonna take it down, we're gonna fuck with it, right? Which is an act of aggression. But like, if you think that me going, why the fuck is there an American drone in the Black Sea is like defending Russia or something, I don't know what to tell you. You've already eaten the fucking bait, hook, line, and sinker, that you're just like, what? It's unimaginable that America wouldn't have a drone in the Black Sea.
And I also wonder if, from Vladimir Putin's perspective, something like this happening in the Black Sea is perhaps good for him, a place where he has suffered some embarrassment, right? When you think about the flagship of the Black Sea Fleet being sunk.
No, I would not agree with that, Brianna. I think this is baiting. I think a pilot made a mistake. They were trying to, like Lauren said, intercept, which means escort and see what's going on. But when you clip an aircraft to cause it to either land or crash, then you've got a different situation right now. Yes.
Well, there you go. It was a mistake. Oopsie. They're already saying it. Let's continue.
Russia has certainly been embarrassed in the Black Sea with the sinking of several vessels by a country that doesn't have a navy. That's Ukraine. But certainly when you're interfering with international aircraft in international airspace, that's not purposeful. That's baiting, and it's interception. This is not something that where, again, Mr. Putin is trying to puff up his chest a little bit and says, see what I can control in the Black Sea. These Reapers were more than likely not only looking for intelligence, but also overwatching some of the grain fleets that are going through embargoed territory out of Ukraine into the Bosporus and up the Danau Canal.
Yeah, this is incredibly serious. And I wonder, David, how Vladimir Putin might respond to this versus how he might see this as something that obviously should be avoided, but how he might respond to this. You wouldn't expect that he's going to come out and give some heartfelt apology to the U.S.
Wait, no, there's not going to be a heartfelt apology, which means we should do more droning, I think. Is it serious or is it an accident? I mean, he made it seem like it was a regular intercept gone wrong. So I think that's it. If they were interested in banging the war drums, you think they would fucking say it like this? I mean, CNN is going to say that. CNN is going to be like, well, this is pretty fucking gross. It's a gross escalation of violent property damage. CNN is going to fucking do that. But when the Pentagon guy's like, yeah, it was just an intercept that went wrong, then all of a sudden, dude, this is so funny. Like, this is why I always say nation states do nation state shit. Russia's defense ministry said Tuesday that it scrambled fighter jets following the detection of a U.S. drone over the Black Sea, but denied causing the crash despite accusations from Washington. They said as a result of a sharp maneuver, the MQ-9 unmanned aerial vehicle entered an uncontrollable flight with loss of altitude and collided with the surface of the water. The ministry said in a statement, adding that the fighter jets did not use their onboard weapons, made no contact with the UAV. They sound like our cops doing a report? Yeah. I think they want to make this into a thing that it's not. You know what I mean? One of the funniest takes from the American government on this was that they said dumping its payload or dumping its fuel was actually environmentally fucked up. They said dumping the Russian plane, dumping its fuel in front of the drone was fucked up on the environment. Do you understand how fucking funny that is? Like, not to get all Elizabeth Warren with it, but the carbon footprint of the U.S. military is like unimaginable. The United States may or may not have blown up a fucking Russian pipeline deliberately, which caused one of the largest fucking gas leaks in human history. Now, we don't know. Allegedly, the U.S. did it, but what we do know is, well, Russia didn't do it, it seems. It seems that it was actually fucking pro-Ukrainian random people that randomly happened to find bombs and randomly happened to know how to dive, do a fucking pipeline, randomly happened to evade everything, right? Evade all the authorities and all the scrutiny, and we're able to do it randomly because they love Ukraine. That's what the official story is now. But again, I digress. It's very stupid to just be like, I can't believe the environmental impact when the DoD is the single largest consumer of fossil fuels and the largest greenhouse emitter. Exactly.
While reckless interceptions are common, like this one in 2020, this time was far different. 2 Russian fighter jets making 19 passes at high speed by the U.S. drone over a 30-minute period, spraying the drone with fuel multiple times. On the last pass, one of the fighter jets flying vertically towards the drone, colliding with the drone's rear propeller and bringing it down. The drone's propeller was bent, but the U.S. was able to...
Mhud says, when an American sees oil being wasted...
No. Wait.
That's why they're offended personally. Me personally, I'm just offended that you wasted the oil. Like, that's kind of fucked up.
No. Wait.
Me personally, I wouldn't take it. Why are they acting like the drone was a brave American soldier who got personally tortured? Because the media loves fucking pushing war narratives, and this is like a good way to try and make it seem like it wasn't just an interception gone wrong, but instead a deliberate act of violence against the U.S. military and America's hegemonic power status, and that Americans should feel the shame that a nation with a significantly smaller GDP that we have been trying to excise out of the global marketplace, even though they currently hold on to the oil, currently hold on to a lot of influence on the oil and gas supply around the planet, that we should fucking escalate tensions and possibly strike back.
A big question at the Pentagon: was this simply a reckless interception that got out of control, or was the collision done on purpose?
Just demonstrative of very unprofessional.
Dude, why is every fucking military admiral guy have this exact same haircut? It's so funny. It's like this is like the American version of the Japanese samurai haircut. You know what I'm talking about? The bald but top knot. You know they're only allowed to have very specific haircuts, right? I do, but like, I'm talking about the way that it balds. It's the exact same balding pattern. Of course, I'm not talking about the fucking freedom fade or whatever. No, I'm talking about the very specific male pattern baldness. That's also standard issue, turns out.
Yesterday, the U.S. summoning Russia's ambassador to the State Department.
We don't want any confrontation between the United States and Russian Federation. We are in favor of pragmatic relations.
And it's no wonder U.S. Air Force official tells us they do not believe the Russian pilot did this on purpose, instead saying the Russian pilot was simply incompetent and flat out dumb. George?
Okay, Martha, thanks very much. Speaking of the top spokesman for the National Security...
Yeah, it's pretty obvious to me, at least, that, like, they are also not in favor of somehow escalating tensions against Russia here. That even they're like, yeah, the pilot was a doo-doo caca head. And they're not like, I don't know, it doesn't seem like they're interested in, like, increasing anything else, like increasing any like serious escalation. They just keep saying like, yeah, it seems like the stupid dumbass pilot did a dumbass bad wrong thing. A big dum-dum, a big dummy. Now, of course, it doesn't change the reality that do I think America is going to keep sending drones into that region? Of course they are, obviously. I'm sure this will happen. I'm sure this will happen again.
Joining us again. So is that the conclusion? Just a dumb move?
That's what it looks like right now, George. I mean, we'll still try to see what we can do to do the forensics on this, but it, at the very least, looks like this was just reckless behavior by a Russian pilot.
I just don't think it's that big of a deal, and it doesn't seem like the Pentagon is trying to make a bigger deal out of it, but the media will definitely try to make a bigger deal out of it as best as they possibly can. And then when they successfully are able to brainwash a bunch of people, you'll hear it in the chat because they'll turn around and come into my community and say, Hasan, how dare you? That drone had a family. What the fuck are you talking about? That drone operator actually got really scared and got a heart attack or something. They'll try to humanize the drone as best as they possibly can. They'll talk about the, I don't know, property damage aspect or some shit like it's a big deal. Yeah. It's funny. It's funny to think about right now because I don't think like either side wants it to go any further than it actually is. The response to this versus the Chinese balloon is laughable. The response to this versus the Chinese balloon is exactly the same, by the way. It's just pro-America. When America's in the Black Sea and Russia fucking fucks around and causes one of our drones to fall near their fucking coastline, it doesn't matter. It was still Russia's fault. The response to the Chinese balloon, when a fucking Chinese surveillance balloon, unfortunately, flies into U.S. airspace and then America blows it up, then it's like, holy shit, this is an act of war. The one component is the media. The same group of people are just also still banging on the fucking war drums. My take is identical. I said it didn't matter when America or when the Chinese balloon was fucking flying over America. The one was international. The other one wasn't. These aren't the same. Okay, I know that it was over international waters. That's why they didn't like fucking laser it, but instead, fucked around with it while they were intercepting it. And also, I understand why America blew up the Chinese balloon, even though I think it's funny. The semantics different in this regard is completely irrelevant to the point of contention or the point of the conversation, because neither of which matters. Neither of it is like important. New updates on the Russian fighter jet. This is pretty funny. The U.S. military released a video of the Russian fighter jet forcing down the U.S. drone by doing a little fart in front of it, doing a little farty boy in front of it.
To go, we just got dramatic new video from the Pentagon released by the military where you can see a Russian fighter jet as it was approaching the back of the American drone that has now been downed 4,000 to 5,000 feet in the Black Sea. In this video that has just been released moments ago, you can see where this Russian fighter jet is going up to this American drone. It is dumping fuel on it. That is what you're seeing in the video as it's approaching here. Then the jet goes away, it comes back, it dumps more fuel, and then it hits the American drone. It clipped the drone, one of the Russian fighter jets did. That is when you see the color bars there. Ultimately, of course, this is what led up to the downing of this drone we have been following all week since this happened. This interaction that happened on Tuesday, we are told, lasted for over half an hour.
Accident, by the way? No, the accident is actually, if they clipped it, the accident is clipping, not fucking dumping. They do this all the time. It's, I thought it was called dogfighting, but people told me that that's not actually dogfighting. Dogfighting is when you genuinely fight. But yes, even over international waters, like when there's territorial disputes and shit like that, pilots will often intercept. They're not there to like actually shoot it down. They're there to just like fuck with it, which they did. And then I think one of them, when they were doing a close pass, I think it might have actually hit it. Dog squirting. Okay, I don't know what the fuck it's called. Okay, shut up. But yeah. Their intention is not to like actually shoot it down. If they wanted to shoot it down, they wouldn't get this close. They would have just shot it. It's not supposed to be combat. But I think like they might have accidentally hit it. That's why I said it was an accident.
And then when the camera footage reappears, you can see that the propeller of that drone is damaged. And that is exactly the sequence of events that U.S. officials had laid out, calling this behavior by the pilots extremely reckless and dangerous. I mean, this is just really remarkable. This is something that is so unusual to see, because usually when these fighter jets intercept these drones, they kind of just fly alongside them. And this fighter jet did do that. It flew beside this drone for about 30 to 40.
It absolutely is not unusual. What are they saying? Maybe it's because I'm fucking Turkish and this shit happens between the Turkish and the Greek Air Force all the fucking time. But like, it is literally the most usual thing. Yeah. And sometimes when they're dicking around, they accidentally fucking hit one another or tap one another. Not with like a missile or anything, but yeah. In America, we literally used like a howitzer missile on a fucking balloon club balloon like 2 weeks ago. What the fuck are you talking about? Aerial fucking saber rattling is one of the most common things that happens all the time, especially during like when we're intercepting flights that are on disputed territory or flights that like whatever nation state considers to be dangerous. Not a howitzer, sorry, a sidewinder, whatever. Fuck, it's a howitzer. Remember yesterday when I was covering this story and I said this is like a non-issue? And even the Pentagon, it seems, is saying that it's a non-issue. And I told you that, like, it seems like even Americans in my chat are not, hitting the fucking NATO line. And then I told you yesterday that I'm sure once they get their fucking news media coverage of this, they'll come into the chat and start chirping about how this is the most important thing. NatSec Twitter is in here now, folks. We're here. This is the most important thing that could have ever happened. Hasan sticking up for the Pentagon was not on my bingo card law. I mean, yeah, when they engage in like the ironic de-escalation, okay, the unusual de-escalation, yeah, I will abide by what they're stating.
40 minutes before actually speeding up right next to the drone, as you saw there, and starting to dump jet fuel on it. That is the moment when U.S. officials say they realized that something was really, really wrong here. As we have seen over the last couple days, U.S. officials have made really, really strict protests to the Russians about this incident, saying that it is completely unacceptable, that it could have endangered the pilots, of course, of that fighter jet, and of course that it violates the U.S.'s right to conduct these kinds of surveillance missions over the Black Sea and over international waters and over in international airspace. But again, this just really,
like, what do they think? Do they think that this was like they wanted to hit the plane deliberately? But like, what, are they out of bullets? Is that why? Do you think the Russian fighter jets are out of missiles so they couldn't down it directly? Is that what you think was going on? Like, honestly, just think about it for a second. Like, what do you, oh man, oh suka blyat, we don't have any bullets, we use it all in Donbass, what are we going to do? Okay, dump the fuel. No, they're fucking around. NatSec Twitter Andes, when they find out that like every fucking flight is basically communicated amongst these two nation states, even though they're currently engaging in a proxy war. What? You mean to tell me we're telling the Russians whenever our flights are in that fucking territory? What? And vice versa? Shut the fuck up. Yeah, that's right. They do that.
I want to remind people that yesterday we heard from the Pentagon, and they said that it was clear that the dumping of the fuel was intentional, but when it comes to the actual physical contact that they made, they weren't sure whether or not that was intentional. I mean, Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Donna Poppy, was being asked if he believed this was an act of war. He said he wasn't prepared to go there yet, but these are the kinds of questions they're facing over this video that you're seeing here.
And that's what John Kirby said yesterday. They had to be careful because they didn't want this war to escalate into
our fucking they, them, woke generals at it again.
Something else. And if you look at this video, there are big questions about whether or not it was intentional, because this is only 40 seconds of something that lasted for 30 to 40 minutes. So unintentional, 30 to 40 minutes. Very interesting.
Experts on it, CNN military analyst, former member of the Joint Staff at the...
I'm surprised they haven't talked about the property damage. The worst kind of crime is property crime. The worst kind of crime is obviously like hurting America's feelings, let's be real, or threatening America's hegemony, threatening America's power status. That is what's like the most fucked up part of this, okay? They put our drone down, brother. What the fuck? That's unacceptable, right? That's like the most unacceptable shit. Yeah, let's go to our general to talk about how devastating this is now.
Pentagon...
Let's go to the fucking general to talk about how devastating it is and like assume a position that is to the fucking further to the right. Let's go to our former general Raytheon lobbyist, Raytheon salesman, to talk about how fucked up this is, so he can tell us like how war should definitely happen. Maybe he won't say that, but usually that's how this goes. If you got fucking Mark Milley being like, guys, calm down, it's not that big of a deal, it was most likely an accident, why the fuck is CNN constantly like, no, it's not an accident, it's deliberate, right? It's got to be a deliberate reason, right? Here, let's go ask General McFuckface, who currently is getting a $700,000 a year salary from Raytheon, how much more Raytheon missiles we need to further extend our our aggressive stance in the Black Sea.
Retired Colonel Cedric Layton is here, also CNN Chief White House Correspondent Phil Mattingly. Thanks both very much for being here. Phil, let me just go to you first.
If I had, sorry, I know I'm pausing a lot. If I had like one like minor tweak that I could do by design, I'd pass legislation that dictated that these fucking assholes that go on television have to wear like a NASCAR jacket with patches on it, showing exactly who their daddy is. Okay? I hate it when they go, oh, this is retired former, you know, Brigadier General, Admiral, Nuclear Submarine Commander. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean anything because right now he's literally working for Northrop Grumman. You know what I mean? Like he's there at the behest of Northrop Grumman. He's there because he has contracts. He's doing lobbying work for Northrop Grumman. Say that. That is important. That is an important part of this conversation.
It looks like the way the Russian aircraft, the Su-27, is coming into the drone. It's very deliberately going after the drone. And when you see the video and you see it come through right here, you look at you look at the way it's appearing in the camera from the Reaper, from the MQ-9, and it comes up really close, and then you see the propeller. It looks normal at this point in time, but when you look at the propeller afterwards, you will see that bent blade, and that is very clearly a deliberate act. The way this aircraft is coming in to the drone, and you see that bent blade right there. Clearly something happened. and it had to have been some kind of an impact.
I'm sorry. It looks so funny. It looks like I don't know why. It looks like a fish who got its like little baby wing clipped or something. You know what I mean? Also, big L for whatever the fucking drone manufacturer is that like a little bit of a clip on the propeller like that causes this thing to fucking fall into the Black Sea. What the hell? It's got other propellers, dog. What's happening? There's no additional systems that could keep it afloat. That's wild.
While the fuel spill on top of the aircraft, on top of the MQ-9 would have been significant, I don't think it would have caused that damage without there actually being metal on metal contact.
I'm so glad you pointed that out, because if we can pull that picture back up, you actually see that one of those, I'm sorry, I don't have the technical term, is like half the length of the one on the, on the opposite side. I think it's amazing, Cedric, that this lasted 30 to 40 minutes.
Get Mirage Protective on it, he will fucking scream at me. If he saw me shitting on American drones, he would lose his shit. I mean, he doesn't work on drones, he does spaceships, but he's often talked about how like American drones are basically like the fucking like the Lamborghinis of drones versus like Bayraktar is like a affordable Toyota Corolla. You know what I mean?
This is part of when they utilize these drones, particularly for intelligence collection purposes, they are able to get pretty real-time feeds or access to what the information is in the moment.
They're watching this in real time?
They can.
Wow.
It depends on how things are structured. One of the issues that they were concerned about, besides the fact that this is a very expensive piece of military property, is just ensuring, look, we don't have naval assets in the Black Sea. We are not able to send, the U.S. is not able to send their people to try and pick this up. They thought from the early stages that this likely fell very, very deep and would have been very difficult to pick up no matter what. But as I think Oren Lieberman, our colleague, reported, they made sure that they could wipe all their systems. Kind of an internal self-destruct without the explosion, if you're trying to think through Mission Impossible type stuff, to ensure that if the Russians, which have made very clear they're trying to find this, trying to pick this up, if they do, what little is left of it will not be of any intelligence value.
Yeah. It's just you say Mission Impossible. I mean, people waking up to this morning, this looks like out of Top Gun, but it's real and it's between the United States and Russia.
I love that. It's just a fun little story, just like advocating for like possible war. You know what I mean?